I was staring at my phone like it was about to ruin my life. My brother Tyler had just sent me the address to a fancy restaurant in downtown Chicago, and my stomach dropped the second I read it. Friday night, blind date, 7 o'clock. I had 30 minutes before I was supposed to meet a woman I had never seen, never spoken to, and never agreed to meet until my brother trapped me into it. Tyler had been pushing this idea for 3 months. Every call turned into the same speech. I needed to move on. I needed to date again. I needed to stop hiding behind work. My last relationship ended 2 years ago, and it ended badly. Since then, being alone felt peaceful, quiet, safe. But Tyler did not care about safe. He cared about fixing me. 2 weeks ago, he blocked the front door at my parents' house and refused to move until I agreed. Mom watched silently, which was worse, so I gave in. 1 date, that was the deal. The worst part was that Tyler refused to tell me who she was. No photo, no last name. Just her first name, Rebecca. He said surprises were romantic. I said surprises were stress. He laughed and said I would thank him later. Standing in my apartment, tightening my tie, I already knew that was a lie. My tie felt wrong. My shoes felt stiff. My reflection looked like a man walking into trouble. But backing out now would mean endless teasing, family lectures, and disappointment. I grabbed my keys and left. Chicago traffic crawled while my mind raced. What if she was boring? What if we had nothing in common? What if this was another one of Tyler's terrible ideas? Last year, he set up our cousin on a date that ended in a loud argument about pizza. I still remembered the embarrassment. The restaurant was the kind of place that made you check prices before ordering water. Dim lights, white tablecloths, waiters in suits. I felt out of place the moment I stepped inside. The hostess smiled like she had seen this panic before. I told her I was meeting someone. She checked her list and led me to a corner table by the window. Table 8. She said my date had not arrived yet. That gave me time to panic quietly. I sat down, pretending to read the menu, but my eyes kept drifting to the door. Tyler had told me she had light brown hair and dressed professionally. That described half the city. Every woman who walked in made my heart jump. At 6:53. The front door opened again, and everything stopped. The woman who walked in was tall, confident, and familiar in a way that made my chest tighten. She wore a deep red dress. Her hair was styled softer than usual. I knew her instantly. Rebecca Sterling, my CEO. The woman who ran every major meeting at my company. The woman whose name signed my performance reviews. The woman I had spent 6 months trying not to draw attention from. My body went cold. Not nervous cold. Disaster cold. I told myself it had to be a coincidence. Maybe she was meeting a client. Maybe she would walk past me and sit somewhere else. But then she spoke to the hostess. The hostess checked her list. And then she pointed straight toward my table. Toward me. I pushed my chair back, ready to escape. I could pretend I had the wrong place. I could disappear. But before I could move, Rebecca looked up. Our eyes met. Her expression shifted from calm to confused to pure shock. She stopped walking. I stood halfway, unsure what to do. Sitting felt wrong. Standing felt worse. She reached the table and stared at me like I had personally planned this. "What are you doing here?" she asked. Her voice was the same one she used in meetings when something went off script. "I'm meeting someone," I said, pointing weakly at the table number. "I think this is table 8. She pulled out her phone and checked it. Then she looked at me again. "This is table 8, she said. "I'm meeting someone too." My heart sank. We both stood there in silence, phones in hand, while reality settled in. She spoke first. "Who are you meeting?" My throat went dry. Someone named Rebecca. My brother set it up. Her face drained of color. I'm meeting someone named Connor. My friend set it up. The pieces clicked together slowly and painfully. Your friend is Lauren, I said. She nodded. Your brother is Tyler. We spoke at the same time. You have got to be kidding. Me? Rebecca sat down hard in the chair across from me. I did the same because my legs were shaking. Neither of us spoke for a long moment. A waiter appeared. Cheerful and unaware of the disaster unfolding. Can I get you started with drinks? I ordered the biggest beer they had. Rebecca ordered the biggest glass of red wine as the waiter walked away. She covered her face with her hand. This is a nightmare, she said. And sitting across from my CEO on a blind date I never wanted, I realized my life had just become very complicated. When the drinks arrived, I realized my hands were shaking. I wrapped both of them around my glass like it might keep me grounded. Rebecca took a long sip of her wine and stared at the table like it had personally betrayed her. I cannot believe Tyler did this, I said. He knows where I work. And Lauren knows where I work, she shot back. So clearly, we both have terrible friends. That earned a short laugh from both of us. It felt nervous, but it broke the tension just enough to breathe again. We should leave, Rebecca said. This is inappropriate on so many levels. I agree, I said quickly. I was planning to fake an emergency anyway. She looked at me, studying my face like she did during meetings when she was deciding whether someone was bluffing. Then she sighed. But I am starving, she said. And this reservation was impossible to get. I hesitated. The idea of sitting through dinner with my CEO felt insane. But leaving meant Tyler would never let this go. And part of me was curious in a way I did not want to admit. 1 hour, I said. We eat, we stay professional. Then we forget this ever happened. Rebecca nodded. 1 hour. We ordered food with the kind of politeness to strangers use in an elevator. No jokes, no eye contact. Just careful words and distance. When the waiter left, silence settled between us. This is the weirdest thing that has ever happened to me, I said. Rebecca looked up, surprised, then smiled slightly. I once got stuck in an elevator with the entire board of directors for 3 hours. This is worse. That made me laugh before I could stop myself. And something shifted. The first part of dinner was painful. We talked about traffic, the weather, construction around Michigan Avenue, every safe topic we could find. I kept waiting for the hour to pass. Then Rebecca surprised me. Tyler mentioned you volunteer somewhere, she said. What do you do? I relaxed a little. Talking about the community center always did that. I teach coding classes to teenagers, I said. Northside Community Center, Saturdays. Her posture changed. She leaned forward. The one on Ashland. I nodded. Yeah, I am on the board, she said. Have been for 3 years? I stared at her. You are kidding. She shook her head. How to prove funding for the tech program. My brain struggled to catch up. You are the reason we got new computers. She shrugged. Those kids deserve it. That was not the Rebecca I knew. Not the sharp executive who challenged every number. This Rebecca looked proud. Soft, we started. Talking about the center, about kids who surprised us, about growing up without resources, about wanting to give back. Time slipped by without me noticing. When the waiter cleared our plates, I checked my watch. It's been an hour and a half, I said. Rebecca blinked. Already? She smiled. A real one, the kind I had never seen. In the office, I guess we are better company than we thought, she said. Dessert showed up before we could argue against it. Chocolate cake. We split it without thinking, by the time we walked out to the parking lot. The night felt different. Lighter. We stopped near her car, unsure how to end this. This was not terrible, I admitted, which is annoying. She laughed. Lauren is going to be unbearable when I tell her. Then her expression changed, serious again. But Connor, she said, this cannot happen again. I am your CEO. That matters. I know, I said. Probably better to forget it. She nodded, but something in her eyes said she did not want to. We said goodnight and went our separate ways. Monday morning was torture. I saw her in the lobby, coffee in hand, perfectly professional. For half a second, our eyes met. Then she looked away. The meeting that morning felt endless. Her voice sounded normal, calm, controlled. But now I knew what she sounded like when she laughed, when she asked for input. I raised my hand without thinking. She listened. Really listened. Saturday came, and I went to the community center like always. I was setting up laptops when the doors opened. Rebecca walked in carrying a box. We froze. A kid named Marcus grinned. Mr. Harrison, you know her? She is on the board, I said quickly. Rebecca smiled, just dropping off equipment. She asked me to step into the hallway. I did not know you taught every Saturday. She said, I did not know you made deliveries yourself, I replied. She laughed softly. There was a pause, a heavy one. I have been thinking about Friday, she said. My heart jumped. Me too. What if we gave up too fast, she said, because we were scared. I took a breath. What if we try again? Carefully, she hesitated, then nodded. Slow, she said. And honest, I held out my hand. Deal. She shook it. And just like that, the situation I tried to avoid was starting to feel like something I did not want to lose. After that day at the community center, everything changed in a quiet way. Not dramatic, not obvious. Just careful. Rebecca and I did not text all day like teenagers. We did not sit next to each other at work. So we did not look at each other for too long during meetings. We stayed professional. Almost too professional. But outside of work, we started finding excuses to see each other coffee shops far from the office. Small places on the north side where no one knew us. We would sit across from each other, talking softly, laughing quietly, always checking the door without admitting we were doing it. We set rules, no work talk on dates. No touching in public places where someone might recognize us. Total honesty. If it ever felt wrong, we would stop at first. It felt like sneaking around. And strangely, that made everything feel intense. Every smile meant more. Every conversation felt important. Rebecca was different outside the office. She was funny in a dry, clever way. She noticed small things. She listened closely. When I talked about my job stress, she did not correct me or manage me. She just listened. One night by the lake, she admitted she hated how lonely leadership felt. Everyone thinks being in charge means you never doubt yourself, she said. But sometimes it just means you have no one to be honest with. That stayed with me. We kissed for the first time in her car after dinner. It was slow and careful, like both of us were afraid of breaking something fragile. When I pulled back, she smiled and rested her forehead against mine. This scares me. She said, me too, I admitted. But neither of us walked away. 3 weeks passed like that, and I started to relax. To believe maybe we could really do this. Then things started to feel off. At work, James from my department began watching me more closely. Kevin from accounting asked if I had been to any good restaurants lately. Someone joked about executives having interesting personal lives. I told myself I was imagining it. Then one Sunday afternoon, everything cracked. I was walking through Millennium Park, enjoying the air, clearing my head. I heard my name, Connor. I turned around and saw James jogging toward me, smiling too much. Didn't expect to see you here, he said. You meeting someone? No, I said quickly. Just walking. He nodded, then frowned slightly. Huh. I could have sworn I just saw Rebecca Sterling around here. Weird seeing her outside the office, right? My heart dropped. I made an excuse and left fast, pulling out my phone. James saw me. He saw you too. We need to be more careful. Her reply came instantly. Meet me by the gardens. 5 minutes. When I found her, she was sitting on a bench, hands clasped tight. Did he see us together? She asked. No, I said. But he's thinking. She closed her eyes. This is what I was afraid of. Over the next few days, the whispers grew louder. People looked at me differently. Conversations stopped when I walked by Friday. Kevin asked me straight out if I was dating Rebecca. I denied it. But his face said he did not believe me. That night, Rebecca and I met at our usual coffee shop. She looked exhausted. I cannot do this, she said quietly. Everyone is watching. This affects your career. Every decision I make will be questioned. We can handle gossip, I said. It will pass. She shook her head, tears in her eyes. I don't know if it will. And I don't want to ruin your future because of me. My chest tightened. So what are you saying? I need space, she said. Time to think. I'm sorry. 2 weeks of silence followed. At work, she became distant, polite, cold. I noticed the difference immediately. Once you know what someone's real smile looks like, the fake one hurts more. I buried myself in work, but it did not help. I snapped at my team. I barely slept. Then Friday afternoon, an email hit my inbox. Immediate audit required. Corporate was investigating our department. Budget issues. Spending questions. My stomach twisted. By Monday, executives were going through our files, asking questions. I could barely answer. Numbers that did not match. Invoices that looked wrong. They talked about formal action, about responsibility, about consequences. I sat alone in my office, staring at spreadsheets, feeling like my world was closing in. Wednesday afternoon, there was a knock. Rebecca stood in my doorway. I think I found something, she said. She sat across from me and showed me system reports. A payment glitch, old, hidden, happening before I took over. This is not your fault, she said. I sent everything to corporate. Relief hit me so hard I almost laughed. They backed off within hours. When I found Rebecca later, she was making tea in the break room. You saved me, I said. You did not have to. She looked at me. I did it because it was right, and because I could not watch you get blamed for something you did not do. We stood there in silence. I missed you, she said finally. I missed you too, I said. She took a breath. Walking away did not fix anything. It just made everything harder. I stepped closer. Oh, so what now? She met my eyes. Now? We stop hiding. And in that moment, I knew part 4 of our story was going to be the hardest one yet. Stopping the hiding was harder than I expected. Saying it out loud felt brave. Actually doing it felt terrifying. Rebecca and I sat in her office after hours, the lights dim, the building almost empty. This time, there were no careful distances or rules written in the air. Just honesty. If we do this, she said, we do it the right way. HR disclosures, no secrets. No special treatment. I want that, I said. I want us to be real. She studied my face, like she was making a final decision. Then she nodded. The next week was a blur. Paperwork, meetings with HR, serious. Conversations about boundaries and reporting structures. It felt strange explaining something so personal in such a formal way, but it also felt like relief. Once it was official, we told the people closest to us Tyler was unbearable. He called me just to laugh and say he knew it. Lauren did the same to Rebecca. They acted like this was their victory. My parents were shocked, then thrilled. Mom hugged Rebecca, like she had already decided she was family. Dad told stories I begged him not to tell. Rebecca handled it all with grace. At work, the gossip exploded for about 2 weeks. People whispered. People stared. A few made comments that crossed lines, but most surprised me. They were supportive, curious, but kind. Rebecca was careful. Extra careful. Every decision involving my department went through additional review. She documented everything. She protected both of us. That made me respect her even more. Being open changed our relationship. We did not have to sneak around anymore. We could have lunch together. We could walk into places side by side. We also learned quickly that being together did not mean we always agreed. Our first real fight happened about a month later. I had made a scheduling decision without looping her in. She felt blindsided. I felt defensive. We argued in her office after hours, voices raised. Both of us frustrated. This is exactly what I was worried about, she said. Work bleeding into us. I wasn't trying to undermine you, I said. I was trying to do my job. We stopped talking at the same time and just stared at each other, breathing hard. Then she sighed. We are bad at fighting. I laughed despite myself. Yeah, but we are here, still talking. We worked through it. Slowly, we set clearer lines. We listened instead of assuming. I realized then that disagreement did not mean disaster. It just meant growth. 3 months after our first awful date, I asked her something crazy. Do you want to go back to the restaurant? I said. The same one. She stared at me. Why would I ever want to relive that trauma? To replace it, I said, with something better. She rolled her eyes but agreed. Sitting at table 8 again felt strange at first. Then it felt familiar, comfortable, halfway through dinner. Rebecca laughed. I thought you were going to steal my table that night. She said, I thought you were the last person I wanted to be trapped with. I said. She reached across the table and took my hand. We were both wrong. By then, I already knew something important. I did not want to imagine my future without her, and I was starting to plan something that would change everything. But before I could act on it, I needed to be sure. Sure that she wanted the same forever I did. And that answer came sooner than I expected. 6 months after that first disaster of a dinner, I knew it was not one big moment. It was a collection of small ones. The way Rebecca reached for my hand without thinking. The way she remembered details I mentioned once. The way she showed up. Every time, even when things were hard. One night, after a long day, we sat on my couch eating takeout and watching something neither of us was paying attention to. She leaned her head on my shoulder and sighed. This feels like home, she said. That was it. I started planning quietly. I wanted it to mean something. I wanted it to honor how we began. So I went back to the place where everything started, GIORDANOs. I worked with the staff, asked for the same table, table 8. I planned every detail. My hands shook the entire time. When the night came, Rebecca thought we were just having dinner. She wore a simple dress and smiled at me the way she always did now. Warm and easy. Halfway through dessert, the waiter placed a small box next to the chocolate cake. Rebecca frowned. What is that? I stood up before my nerves could stop me. My heart was pounding so loud I thought everyone could hear it. Rebecca, I said, kneeling beside the table. 6 months ago, I thought you were intimidating and completely out of my league. Then I learned you were kind, thoughtful, and someone who cares deeply about people. Her eyes filled with tears. I fell in love with you without meaning to. And then, on purpose. You make me want to be better. You make my life fuller. I do not want a future where you are not beside me. I opened the box. Will you marry me? She nodded before I finished the sentence. Tears ran down her face as she laughed and cried at the same time. Yes, yes. 1,000 times yes. I slipped the ring on her finger. She pulled me up and kissed me while people around us clapped. Later, as we walked out hand in hand, she squeezed my fingers. I cannot believe the worst blind date of our lives led here, she said. I smiled. Sometimes the person you try to avoid is exactly who you need, and that night, power and a title that scares you. And sometimes, if you are brave enough to stay at the table, it becomes the best decision you ever make.